A few years, actually, and I think we're due because the older me continues to learn to both enjoy and be humbled by life, to experience hellos and to endure goodbyes, to win and to lose, to acquire and to cut away. The world is a maze of complexity to navigate. Maybe we should start right there. Because look, folks, there are some fundamental ideas about life that we may have wrong. There is no door that you walk through when you suddenly go from not understanding to finally having all the answers. Part of growing up is realizing how little we know as human beings about anything. That's okay. What we'll understand is it's not a reason to run. It's a source of courage to draw from. Education is the key to courage. To learn is to be informed, and this allows us to open doors. Learning is a lifelong process. It's not about grades. It's about much more than coursework. It's about people. It's personal. And it's about progress. Oh, but adults, they're wise, you might think, but no, we adults, we're just children with mortgages. Yeah, but him over there, or her, we, them, they have it all figured out. No, they just walk with conviction into their own individual unknowns, that's all. There has to be some certainty, yes, but we must also become comfortable with a level of uncertainty. We have to know some things for sure, you might think. Certainly we do, or at least we think we do, but you have to understand that 150 years ago, sending videos to one another using phones was simply an impossibility, right? To put a man on the moon before we could ever talk to each other without wires from our homes, that was unthinkable. A pursuit of truth is crucial, but it's a work in progress. Life is a work in progress. You are a work in progress. We are a work in progress. So, what am I talking about? Why does this matter? Because I don't want you to think that you are ill-prepared to venture further into your potential. Someone in this room could be the creator of the next big idea. The cell phone, the ability to send photographs through the air, the creation of a medical device or process that saves lives. I don't want you to think that other people have what you don't, or that you're not enough. When I speak from behind a curtain, do you create assumptions in your mind about who I am? I hope you do. I hope that your judgment will be based upon our care for one another, the way we treat one another, our high expectations of one another, and not solely upon the way we look. Our spoken words and our actions will define us. They are our legacy. Good morning. So I can't imagine what it's like to be a middle school student or a high school student on day one and to not open. Can't imagine what it's. Can we turn the mic down a little bit, maybe? Will that fix the feedback? Can use my coaching voice. Can't imagine what it's like to be a middle school or a high school student on day one. I also can't imagine what it's like to be a new teacher in a new place and not know anyone. I think about this behind the curtain exercise because so frequently our first impressions are based upon the way somebody looks. This morning as I was leaving the hotel 8 minutes from here, I thought I'll shave my head and get a fresh shine for everybody. And as I did, I nicked myself and I had no styptic pencil. And as I walked in, Judy said to me, and I guess is Judy here or is she in another session?
Good morning.
Judy said to me, I love your socks. Stay brave because you get that Band-Aid on your head or something like that. And I explained the shaving accident to her. And I thought, imagine what it would be like to be a kid walking in with a Band-Aid on your head, or to be a kid with no hair, or to be different enough so that somebody made you feel bad about being different, right? And I think we can combat that with gratitude. So I wanted to start with an exercise. And before I do, how many people this morning received a written note, not a text, not a phone call, but a written note from somebody they love or somebody they work with? Hey, Coach, how's it going? Somebody they work with expressing gratitude in writing. How many people got it? Couple. But not a wide array. How many people have a birthday today and that's why they got the written note? So I'll say this, for any educator, it's a good guess that if you receive a written note from a student or you receive a written note from a supervisor or a colleague, there's a good chance that many of us would hold on to that. Is that fair? So what I wanted to do is start with an exercise in gratitude. There's a postcard, either to your right or your left. There's 500 spread throughout the auditorium. If you're sitting in the last rows, you're beyond the 500 mark. So if you want to move up just 1 or 2 rows, you can find a postcard. If you want someone to hand one back to you, they can. But before I explain the exercise, I want to tell you a short story. I was in Chicago. About half a year ago. And I was doing a keynote. And I had been there the year before doing a breakout session. And we did this gratitude exercise. At the end of the keynote, this gentleman, 6'5", probably 300 pounds, came over and he said to me, I just want to tell you something. The letter that I wrote a year ago is hanging on my refrigerator, and it saved my marriage. You can erase a text. You can forget a phone call. You can save writing. So I want to give you 2 or 3 minutes, if you have a pen in your hand, to write a note to someone you care about, work with, appreciate, and just pay it forward at some point today. And then we'll move on. But I think it's important enough to take a quick break and take care of the people we care about before we move forward. So we'll pause 2 minutes, and if you want to write a little bit on that card for somebody, feel free. So activation is the hardest part of any activity. I know we've started that. If we didn't at least start it, you probably wouldn't have finished it. For those of you who have started, please at some point take the time to finish it. And then I want to think about the fact that what if school for 2 minutes once a week allowed us to do this similar type of exercise with our students, where they could learn to be vulnerable, put their words on paper, and express gratitude to someone? Is that as important as the standards? Because nowadays we have a lot of kids videotaping fistfights in the hallway instead of intervening. What kind of message do we send when we do that type of exercise and build the whole person? This morning when I came in, Jason and Kevin from IT helped me with setup. Andy Long admitted that he was a Bears fan and that he started in Chicago. I met Kathleen, who I believe teaches social studies, and Melissa, who teaches art. Do I have that right? Great. And then Judy and Bill put me at ease on my way in because I had a Band-Aid on my head, and when I took it off, I started bleeding here on the stage, and I had to go back and get a new Band-Aid out of my car. It's thoroughly embarrassing, and Judy very humorously put me at ease. Everything I do today, I'm going to try and model what we want to do with our kids. Not in a, hey, do this way, but in a natural way. And when we acknowledge the humanity and vulnerability and authenticity of situations, I think we grow significantly. This is Hawaii. I have 6 children, 5 daughters and a son. My 21-year-old daughter lives in Hawaii. She was in college when COVID started. She said, I think I'm wasting money. I have no idea what I want to do other than move to Hawaii. And I was like, holy shit, I want to move to Hawaii. So she up and went and she moved to Hawaii. And I had the luxury of visiting her. And this was a picture of the beach in the morning where people were doing yoga. Right before that, I had watched a sunrise, a red sunrise at 5 a.m. I was supposed to watch it with her, and I watched it alone because the day before we were on a hike and my phone rang, and instead of putting my phone down, I picked it up and I took the call. I'm a superintendent in southern Massachusetts, and I ended up on the phone for about 35 minutes, and my daughter said, I'm all set with the hike. So, I share with you too, what's the price of an iPhone? I think there's an opportunity cost and an opportunity benefit that come with all the advancements we have in our life. But again, I share that with you because today's about you, way more than it's about students, and we have to take care of the adults that take care of the kids. That's super important. So I want to take a minute and ask you to just partner up and to have a conversation with someone sitting next to you. And this is how the exercise will look. I'm going to give each of you 45 seconds to just talk about a philosophy that drives your culture, either in the classroom, in the school, at home, whatever it may be. It's an elevator speech. Person number 1 will talk for 45 seconds. Then I'm going to ask you if you can hear me to clap once. It's like an elementary intervention. If you can hear me clap twice, then we're going to switch. Person number 2 will have the chance to share for 45 seconds. And then I'll ask you to share out if you're comfortable doing that. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions about the instructions? So if you could find a partner, and then we can get the opportunity to just talk about, is there a philosophy that drives your culture that you could deliver as an elevator speech? That'd be wonderful. So we'll take 15 seconds, find a partner, and then I'll say, here we go. 7 seconds of wait time. Awesome, awesome. Tell me your name, or tell us your name and your role in the district.
I'm Brooke Pacheco.
You can have the mic.
I'm a wellness teacher at the high school, and I'm a coach here.
Awesome. What do you coach?
Soccer, girls soccer.
I started as well.
We're killing it already, right?
I love it, yeah.
Yes, sir. All right, I'm Jamie Bruno. I also coach at the high school, but I'm with Judy and Bill. The two you've mentioned a couple times during the day. I hope that's okay. Sorry. I'm a phys ed teacher, wellness teacher as well.
Great. And what's the philosophy that drives your culture?
So mine was a lot about respect.
Yeah.
So I always give all of my students full respect, and I expect it back. So that's a big part of my classroom, and also what I try to drive on the field as well.
Yeah, and then for me, a big one for me is accountability. Making the right decisions. If I'm showing up as the coach to my summer to be in something and watch, I think that should drive home that we all need to be accountable. Things should be earned, not just given on the day of. So accountability to me is huge. I think without it, you don't have anything as a team, and even in the classroom as well. So.
Jocko Willink has a book about ownership. I definitely suggest reading it. It's all about accountability. He was a Navy SEAL that did some incredible work. No wrong answers. It's someone else. So just tell us your name and your role.
Bailey Mahoney, I'm one of the world language teachers here at the high school.
And tell us a little bit about what drives your culture.
For me, it was relationships, building relationships with students, my colleagues, even, my home life, my friends. You can get a lot out of having those well-developed personal relationships.
That's awesome. Thanks so much. One more. Philosophy that drives your culture. Again, no wrong answers, just an experiment. You'll see what's going on in a minute. In the back. I'm coming to you, I promise.
I can use my playground voice.
I love it.
I'm Terry, I'm principal at the Heathbrook School, and I was talking with the director of STEM and IT, and his philosophy, it really hit me, was empathy. Putting themselves, this whole department puts themselves in the people, in the seat of where the people they serve, and finding a way to proactively take care of them before they reach a frustration point.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Can tell me your first name? Thank you, Terry. So how many people talk about standardized tests? Just put your hands up really high so we can see them. You don't have to be embarrassed. How many people talked about standardized tests? None. If standardized tests are your school's top priority, your mission is more about adults than it is students. So I have a little tune for you. Can you see me behind the seats? Has anyone seen The Wizard of Oz? You know where I'm going? When Dorothy fell out of the sky and these little people were all around her? That was me when I was younger. All right, here we go. You may know this. May take a second. I'm not a strong vocalist, I'm praying for the backup. It's more fun with the backup. All right, let's see. Do you want to fill in circles? Talk about the common core. It doesn't matter anyway. It's just a score. We used to be best buddies, but now we're not. Somebody tell me why. Do you want to fill in circles? Do you want to fill in circles? Okay, bye. No, we won't get the sound. That's okay. I think part of great teaching and part of great education is that we put a piece of ourselves out there. My dad was a musician. He used to make me practice my alto saxophone before I was allowed to go out and play with fireworks. You're not going out until you practice your chromatic scales. And I rebelled by playing electric guitar. I had hair down the middle of my back. I still do, you just can't see it. And then I got into athletics and found a niche that helped me with an identity. But I share that because I think when we share a piece of who we are with the kids with whom we work, we have the opportunity to build rapport beyond the curriculum, and I think that's super important. This is the Davos conference in Switzerland. And the Davos conference is the place where all the heavy hitters, the billionaires in the world get together and they discuss what's important. And these were the skills that they identified. And this slide was shared at the superintendent's conference over the summer. And I found it to be intriguing. But these are the skills they identified as the top 10 skills of 2023. None of it has to do with filling in circles or standardized tests. A lot of it has to do with the foundational ideas that people talked about when they talked about what drives their culture. And it's important for us to realize that kids can go online now. They can create a YouTube channel, and if they have an understanding of marketing, they can make a living without ever going to college. We have 2 graduates from our school who started a YouTube channel. Now that's not the norm, but they make $100,000 a month as influencers for a video game. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. They have that many followers online, but then I have to retract my statement and say that's not that stupid because they can do anything they want financially without a college degree, no loans, and it's mind-blowing to me. And so our job as educators is to figure out what the iterative skill sets are that we can deliver to our kids to stay current, relevant, and interesting. Because the most valuable people in the world solve modern-day problems, Tesla. Tesla was a blip on the radar 20 years ago. You can't drive down the street without seeing a Tesla now. Uber. Whoever thought you'd get in a car with a stranger and ask him to take you somewhere? My mother was like, whatever you do, don't hitchhike. But it's okay to call Uber and get in a car with a stranger and have him take you somewhere. Zoom. Zoom is not novel. What about Skype? Zoom was iterative. Zoom responded. We can't teach the same lessons every single year without reflecting and figuring out a way to weave in modern day thought. ChatGPT. Oh no, said my business manager. Why did you put in a PO for ChatGPT? And I said, because it is the fastest way for me to write a press release. You wouldn't believe what happens when I type in, write a press release about XYZ, and it gives me the template, and instead of spending 40 minutes, I spend 3. It's unbelievable. Do I worry about where it could go and what the implications are? Sure. But is it a reality that we have to deal with? So we could have a cup half full or a cup half empty. It's up to us. I had a video pop up on my feed from Facebook. I almost put it in the presentation. I have 6 kids, I told you that. My 3 youngest, when they were like 2, 4, and 4, because we have twins, we gave them a fake present for the holidays. It was broken plastic spoons. Like it was on a talk show, I forget, on one of the nighttime, Jimmy Kimmel. So we wanted to do that and see what the response was. And my 2-year-old son at the time opened it, and he got like a really sad face, and he slammed the box down, and he laid down on the floor and put his face in the rug. And my daughter, who's a little bit of the one in Hawaii, says, "Ashley, are you upset?" And he said, "I'm mad. I don't like broken spoons." And I took the broken spoons and I said, "You know what they're for?" And his twin sisters were laughing because they just said it was silly. "Dad, why'd you do that?" But he was 2. He didn't understand. So I started to take the spoons and clap them together and dance. And like he got up and wanted the spoons right away. And my other daughter got up with her spoons. And we can turn any situation we want into whatever we want to in almost any case. The reality is there are situations we have no control over, and we're human, and we have to deal with those as well. But let's save our heaviness for those that we really can't control. Does that make sense? These are the loyalties we juggle. I told you about my 6 kids. I'll continue to be vulnerable. My 2 oldest girls are from my first marriage. I was an athletic director at 24 years old. I thought it was so cool to go into the office at 6 a.m. and leave at 11 p.m. when the last game ended. I was going to work harder than anybody else. And we were going to have the most successful athletic department in the state. And we did. We won the Dalton Award. We had a very successful athletic department. I did not have a very successful marriage. And my 2 oldest girls paid the price for that. That's real. I own that. And I share that because I implore you, as a superintendent, I say to our staff all the time, please go home. Please go home and see your family. If you have a family, not everyone's in the same boat, but if you have a family, please go home and spend time with them. If you don't have a family, please go home and get some time to yourself so you can be 100% when you show up in the morning. Because that balance is imperative. One will bounce and 4 will break. This is a QR code. If you scan it, it will take you to an inventory where you can kind of see what your strengths and weaknesses might be. You can take a survey, and you can kind of see, like, what do I struggle with? Is it confidence? Is it screen time? It will just give you the opportunity to self-assess, and then pick one, and think about what little tweak you want to make today that you can put into action. I'll tell you the biggest pattern, this survey's gone out to over 3,000 people, and I get to see the results. Don't put your name in if you don't want your name associated with it, because there's no reason to put your name. Because this is just an ongoing, for me it's science. The biggest pattern that I see is a very predictable category when you take this inventory. Who wants to guess what most people struggle with?
I'd say, family and work.
Family and work's a good guess, but screen time is the #1 struggle. For adults, screen time. Everyone thinks, oh, kids struggle with screen time. It's also the biggest struggle for adults, believe it or not. I hate to tell you that before you take the survey, but it shows up all the time. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the slide. I do a different breakout where I go into detail with this, but I share it with you because it's a pretty neat resource. You could even make a copy of the Google form and use it with your teams if you're a building leader. And so, once we're taking care of ourselves, I guess I ask the question, what are your dreams? What's on your bucket list? You know, I said to Andy, how was your summer? He said, well, I had hip surgery. I had a hip replacement. And I thought, you know, I need to get a hip replacement. I went to the doctor, and the doctor said to me, well, are you a hockey player or a wrestler? And I said, I'm a wrestler. And he said, yeah, you have really bad hips. You have hips like an 80-year-old. And so I was talking to Andy, and I thought, I need to take care of my hip too. And then I said, when he said that, I said, how was your summer? He said, I didn't do a whole lot. I got my hip replaced. I thought, as administrators, we don't make the time frequently to get away the way we should. We don't always have a bucket list either. And I think it's important to have a bucket list. Even if you check something small off that bucket list, it's pretty beautiful. Who knows who created this mouse? Raise your hand. We're going to scaffold and start low hanging fruit. Put them up really high if you don't. Right. Count of three. Who created the mouse? 1, 2, 3. Walt Disney. Who knows what Walt Disney said on the day that Disney World opened? By the way, he was told he wasn't creative enough to work at a newspaper. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't a TV personality, and Michael Jordan did not make his high school basketball team in his early years. He had a growth spurt. But who knows what Walt Disney said on the day that Disney World opened? Any guesses? You had your hand up. Would you mind coming up? You don't want to? You don't want to come up? Okay. Can I come to you? This is a setup. Are you okay with that? Yeah. All right, cool. I probably should have said this is a setup before it started, but what size shoe do you wear? 13. All right, I'll give you an extra larges. There's a prize too, so. Just tell us your name and then just tell us what you think you said when Disney World opened.
Sure, my name's Dave. I'm a guidance counselor at high school. What was the question?
What did Walt Disney say on the day that Disney World opened?
Nothing, it was dead.
Wow, well done. He's right. Give a round of applause. Dave, right? Yeah, so Dave said he didn't say anything, he was dead. He's 100% correct. A lot of people have like pie in the sky ideas, and they share it. And Dave's spot on, and they asked Walt's brother, Roy Disney, isn't it a shame that Walt never got to see Disney World? And Roy responded. He said he did get to see it, that's why we get to see it. We're hope dealers. We help other people excel. And everything that happens in our lives happens first between our ears, and then between our hours. And if we color inside the lines with kids, and limit them to the parameters of a curriculum, there will never be a Disney World. There will never be another cell phone invention, because we have to dream big in order to put people on the moon. Does that make sense? Roger Bannister did not run a 4-minute mile to break the record that preceded his own. He ran a 4:03. He broke a record with a 4:03, and his 4:03 made him think, maybe I can break a 4-minute mile. It was an 8-year record, or something of the sort. Within a year, within a half a year, the 4-minute mile record was broken. Our minds take us to incredible places when we plant the seeds of possibility. Imagine if a piece of the curriculum was based on imagination. And so, these silly socks I'm handing out, and the whole idea of authenticity that you see in the title of what I do, people say, well, what is it? Authenticity is that feeling you get when you interact with someone who's real. Because when you interact with someone who's not, there's another feeling you get. And when folks like you interact with your students and you're real, and you're true to yourself. I met Sean Rock. He said, I've been teaching chemistry for 5 years. Second career, right? And I said, what a great name, Rock. To teach teenagers. It's fun. I could see a nickname coming out of that, right? But in my mind, I think if we can connect with people, if we can find ways to connect with people in an authentic manner, it's amazing how powerful the relationship becomes. I talk about the Band-Aid on my head, and I didn't want a Band-Aid on my head. Again, Judy put me at ease. We were laughing the whole way in. So the socks come from this place that evolved about 12 years ago. I was at the Silver City Gallery and Mall in Taunton before Amazon came about. There was a mall in Taunton, and I was with my 3 oldest daughters, and we got out of the truck, and I was wearing these socks with sandals, shorts, and a t-shirt. And my daughter, Hannah, who's now 23, turned to me and she's like, "Dad, no." And I was like, "Hannah, what?" She goes, "You look ridiculous. You're an administrator at a high school. You cannot dress like that in the mall." My socks were these bright-colored chili pepper socks. They weren't these exact socks. They were bright-colored chili pepper socks, sandals, shorts, and a t-shirt. So we walked the length of the mall from Bertucci's to Dairy Queen. And I said to my daughters, just walk 15 feet in front of me. Don't turn around and call me Dad, and no one will know. If I can see you and I know you're safe, don't worry about walking with me. You don't need to be embarrassed. So we walked the length of the mall. 3 people on the way to Dairy Queen said, "Hey man, I love your socks." I was like, great. By the time we got to Dairy Queen, my daughters, not only did they talk to me because they wanted me to pay for the ice cream, but they wanted a pair of the socks I was wearing. And it's amazing how quickly something that seems corny can become cool. Right? But it's fun. And there's power in fun. So I said to them, I got those socks in Sedona, Arizona. I can't get you 3 pairs of these socks, but I'm gonna have socks made. And on the socks, there's a picture of sandals, socks, and shorts. And on the back it says, "Be kind." How appropriate that you're a guidance counselor. Serendipitous, really. But on the back it says, "Be kind." Because when you're walking behind someone, that's the expectation. I always say I'd rather be punched in the face than stabbed in the back. So I gave those to my daughters. Everybody at their school wanted a pair of socks. It was like the coolest thing in the world. And I said to them, the lesson that came with it is, hey, you can be your authentic self, as long as you're kind, honest, and improve the situation for other people. That's my elevator speech. Is it kind, is it honest, will improve the situation. When I was an assistant principal, if kids were having an issue, they came into my office, I said, hey, answer the 3 questions. If they fail any of the 3 questions, I don't need to lecture them. I'd always start and say, hey, you're really smart. You're a really smart kid. I'm not going to lecture you. Just answer the 3 questions. That's empowering to say to a kid who's in trouble, you're really smart. That changes the dialogue, that transforms the conversation, because they no longer feel like they're in there being an idiot. You just told them they're really smart and you're not going to lecture them. Just answer the 3 questions. And then I'd say, what do we got to do? And I'll give you an example. I had a young man on the spectrum. He gave me permission to share this story. At my school, when I was a high school assistant principal, I called him down. He had thrown a stick at somebody in landscaping class. And I said to him, hey, bud, you know why you're here? He goes, yes. I said, why? He said, I threw a stick at someone. It wasn't kind, it wasn't honest, but it improved my situation. So I was like, shit. Hey, bud, I want to use this. I was like, hey, bud, what do you think we should do? He said, well, I think we should call the person down that I threw the stick at, and I should apologize. This young man was on the spectrum. And he said, and I appreciate your rubric. It makes it very easy for me to understand. Called the other young man down. I said, do you know why you're here? He said, yes. It wasn't kind, it wasn't honest, and it didn't improve the situation. I said, what are you talking about? He said, if I were him, I would have thrown a rock. I said, holy shit. I didn't even have to investigate. I was like, 3-2. He wins. Like, so what do we do? He said, I'm really sorry. After this happened, a bunch of kids said, they told me I was an absolute absolute idiot. That's not the word he used in my presence. I was like, ooh. They told me I was an absolute idiot. I had no idea that you're on the spectrum and that sometimes social cues are hard for you. And I apologize from the bottom of my heart. What I did was absolutely horrible. Talk about owning your behavior and accountability. That's big. I was like, hey guys, I don't think we need to meet any longer. That's pretty unbelievable. And then I said to the other kid, do you feel okay? And he said, I feel amazing. And then he turned to the other kid and he said, thank you, and I'm sorry I threw the stick. Is it kind? Is it honest when we look at the situation? This is how we deal with retention. Because you gotta have a zero tolerance for mean. There's a difference between mean and a mistake, right? I don't have a high tolerance for mean. If someone's mean and vindictive, that's a lot different than making a mistake, right? This works everywhere. And when you're kind, honest, and improve situations, you can be yourself. It's that easy. So if a kid is walking down the hallway and they have blue hair, I don't say to them, hey, I love your hair, I love your blue hair. And they're like, a couple kids have come over and said, I can just be me here. Because it's so clear, our boundaries are so clear. And when there's a connection, it's unbelievable what happens. And everybody has a story, so when we take the time to learn someone's story, we open the doors to connection. It's truly a beautiful thing. I want to do an exercise, but I also am sensitive to the fact, and again, I'm trying to model the empathy piece. Was it Terry? Yes. That talked about empathy? I want to model the empathy piece. Everybody comes from a different place. So this exercise is a little bit awkward. It's not my own. I saw it somewhere else, but I want to let you know ahead of time, if you're not comfortable with close proximity, then I would just encourage you to sit down and not participate. Like when I said to Dave, are you comfortable coming up? And he's like, no, I'm going to stay where I am. We have to ask those questions. Not everybody wants to be on stage, right? And that's real. So the exercise, Sean, are you comfortable just standing across from me? Sure. Okay. We're going to literally give each other enough space. We'll stand like this far apart, but the whole idea is to make eye contact with the person for an extended period of time. Let's say 30 seconds. No sound. No laughter, no talking. Have you done this before? No? Okay. Some of you may have, but I just want you to see if you can make eye contact. No laughter, no talking, 30 seconds. It's harder than you think. But see what happens. We've had like 3 marriages come as a result of this. So if you want to participate, I just ask you to stand up, find a partner. If you don't, that's okay too. Ready? Here we go. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 30 seconds of silence. Begin. That's one of the classroom exercises That's one of the classroom exercises that is not for K-12. That's for the adult audience. We had Dave Burgess kick off our school year yesterday with our staff, and his opening slide was about hooks, like hooking your audience, and it said 20 ways to become a better lover, with a big heart on it. Well, this guy, being so excited about Dave Burgess being with us in our district, he wrote Teach Like a Pirate, posts a picture of Dave on social media for our district with that slide in the background. Way to go, pal. Parrot writes, would love to know more about what this was about. Private message to parent. Wow, thanks for bringing that to my attention. Didn't realize that the slide Dave used to talk about appropriate and inappropriate looks happened to be posted on social media. Thank you so much. Again, we have to own our stuff. In my excitement, I dropped the ball. So, when there's a connection, investment increases, attendance improves, disciplinary referrals go down, and recruitment becomes easier. Who wants to work in a place where people care about you? I do. When I was new to my role 7 years ago, I was walking through the hallway pre-COVID, and you could see everybody's face, and you could learn facial expressions. And you could tell, like, hey, this is what Mr. Rock looks like every single day. This is what his face looks like, and if it's different, you could kind of pick up on it. Does that make sense? So we had a teacher walking through the hallway one day, and he was the guy that was always smiling. And one day I looked at his face, and it was just he looked like something was on his mind. And I said to him, hey, and he's given me permission to tell this as well. I would never talk about anybody without asking their permission. And I said to him, hey, are you okay? And he said, why are you asking? I said, because your face is different today. He said, are you serious? I said, I'm totally serious. Now, administrators, remember this when you walk into classrooms to see a teacher. You need to make sure you're smiling. That might sound ridiculous, but if you're smiling when you walk into a teacher's classroom, it makes a difference in the way the teacher feels. Yes? That's super important. So he said, actually, and he started talking, I said, well, let's step into the teacher's room because I don't want to be right in the middle of the hallway. He said, last night, my wife's sister took her own life. And my wife said she just wanted to be alone this morning and told me I could go to work and I came here to where I can clear my head. And I said to him, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go home. I want you to take a bereavement day. You don't even need to take a bereavement day. Just go home. Tell Betsy you came home because you wanted to be there in case she needed you, but that you'd be in the other room and do whatever you needed to do, but you just wanted to be there just in case. Will you do that for me? I was new. He said, yeah, of course. And he went home. 3 days later, my phone rang. It was Betsy. She said, Aaron, I just want to thank you for sending John home. I said, Betsy, I told John not to tell you that I sent him home. And she laughed. And she said, that meant a lot to John and it meant a lot to me. And now, I see Betsy all the time. Because now Betsy feels like she's a part of our community. Little things matter because everybody does the big things. Everybody sends a text. Everybody says thank you with an email. Very few people use a stamp. If I text my daughter in Hawaii, there's a big difference between that and me sending her a postcard to Hawaii. And the postcard might just say, "What's up?" That's a lot different than a text. Remember being a kid and getting a piece of mail? It's still exciting as an adult. When someone loves you enough to put something in the mail. You can't make a withdrawal from someone you've never invested in. Coach Pacheco talked about respect, right? If I don't remember, that's different than Coach talked about respect, is it? When I say Coach Pacheco talked about respect, is that different? Because I remembered Coach's name. When we take the time to learn someone's name and then we can give it back to them, there's power in that. If I say Coach, or I say Coach Pacheco, that's different. When a student walks down the hallway and you say, hey bud, or you say, hey Joe, that's different. This is me in kindergarten. It's actually my son. He modeled for this. I got in line the first day of kindergarten. I got a Star Wars lunchbox. This is me. This is my best friend. He was, we met when we were 1. He was my college roommate. He was the best man in my first wedding. At my second wedding, my dad saw him and he said, hey Jim, are you the best man? And Jim said, no, that was bad luck, Davis. So I lined up at the big green doors at East School in Natick with my Star Wars lunchbox, and there was a girl in front of me. She was a head taller, if you can believe that. She had the best shampoo. When I tell this story to middle school kids, my daughter was at the middle school where I told it, like a few years ago. She's like, Dad, everything was fine except for the story about the shampoo. That's creepy. And I'm like, but Hannah, when you go through trauma, you remember smells, sounds, tastes, and everything about it. Or you forget it all. Trauma can do 2 things. It can give you triggers, or you can erase it from your mind, right? These are real. This is real. This is true. There were 2 boys in front of her, and there was a girl at the front of the line, and one of the boys said to the girl at the front of the line, hey, fatty. And I held my breath and tucked my stomach in, went to the bathroom, pulled my belt as tight as I could with my corduroys on, and wore my corduroys as tight as I could for the whole day because I didn't want to be the girl at the front of the line. And everybody says that education hasn't changed, but education has changed because we deal with issues like this now in a much more proactive way than we did back then. Fair? My mom walked into her room while I was looking in her full-length mirror at the marks on my hip. And she said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, well, a girl at the front of the line today was called a name, and I don't want to ever be called that name, and I feel like I'm fat. And I was like a peanut of a kid. But not only do hurtful things impact the target, but they actually can instill fear in observers. And that's sometimes why kids will jump on board, because they're afraid that if they don't, they could become the target. And that's hard. So like, how do we teach kids to wear their geek socks? That's what I call these. There's no better feeling than leaving the middle school and having a kid write you a letter that says, I can be myself now. You're that person. We're the people who help kids to be themselves. Because they have basic needs, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And when we perceive a threat, it's hard to function. Threats trump performance. Some people go to school because that's their escape, i.e. John. Some people stay home because they have to solve the problem before they can go to school, right? So there's no right answer. It's just that we deal with these things differently. But threats impact performance one way or another. So I'll tell you a story, another story. There's so many acronyms in education: ADHD, BESE, the Coordinated Program Review, DESE. We could go on and on. There's literally, I think the only thing I've struggled with is X. Right? Like, I've gone through the exercise in my mind, because I think it's almost comical how many acronyms come into play. Years ago, I was a principal. I said to our teams of teachers, today we're going to focus on PLCs. I had a math teacher come up and go, oh, more bullshit? And I'm like, well, you know what? Your group does not have to work on PLCs. Instead, what I'd like you to do is get together with your group and just talk about best practices. He goes, I can do that. And so many acronyms because we're going to dress it up. The most important acronym in education is, are you okay? You want respect? You want accountability? Ask kids if they're okay. They'll show up. They'll be accountable. Why? Because when they know you care, they'll run through a brick wall for you. It all starts with, are you okay? So I was on a 230-acre campus, first day of school. 27 outbuildings, cafeteria across the street from the main building. Math department chair walks through the main building into the basement to walk over to lunch duty, first day of school, finds a kid eating his lunch in the basement. Nearly 400 pounds, hearing impaired. She says to him, Aaron, are you okay? He says, yeah. Well, why are you eating your lunch in the basement? Well, because when I was in middle school, kids used to knock food on my lap. They'd knock my hearing aids out of my ears. It's not a safe place for me to eat. She said, come with me. I need to bring you to the assistant principal's office. He started to cry. She brings him in. I said, hey, bud, what's your name? He said, Aaron. I said, oh, my name's Aaron. How do you spell it? He said, A-A-R-R-O-N. I said, oh, you spelled it wrong. It's actually only one R. He laughed. I said, why are you crying? Or why were you crying? He said, because I know I'm in trouble. I said, why would you be in trouble? He said, I was eating my lunch in the basement. I'm supposed to be in the cafeteria. And then he told me this story. I said to him, would you be okay if I called 3 upperclassmen in to take you under their wing? He said, sure. I asked because I never know. I called them down one at a time. I asked them if they'd be willing to do it. Because if I called them down 3 at a time, they might say, like, yes. They might not want to, right? All 3 said yes. These were not 3 National Honor Society students. I had suspended one of them for mooning traffic the year before. That's important because just because a kid moons traffic doesn't mean he's a bad kid. No, I'm being serious. Kids make mistakes, right? It wasn't mean. Right? He's outgoing. So I think it's important to make sure kids know that we believe in them even after they make mistakes. These 3 kids took him under their wing. I said to them, listen, he's very overweight. He's hearing impaired. Don't make fun of his weight. Don't make fun of his hearing loss. But I wanted to feel like one of the guys. Can you guys do that? They said, of course we can. I said, great. I introduced him. Off they went. Every day he ate lunch with them. I get a phone call 5 days later. It's my assistant. She says, hey, Aaron's mom is on the phone. Can you take a call? I said, sure. Is everything okay? She said, I don't know. I pick up the phone. I said, this is Mr. Polansky. She says, this is Aaron's mom. Again, Aaron and his mom gave me permission to tell the story. Can you tell me, is Aaron in school? I said, yes, he is. She said, are you sure? I said, I'm 100% sure. He's been in school every single day since the first day of school. I've checked in with him every single day. He's doing unbelievably well. She said, I need to know what is going on. And I'm like, well, what doesn't she understand? I just told her. She said, for 2 years, we had to drag him kicking and screaming to the bus stop because he did not want to go to school. He wakes up at 6 a.m. now, and he can't wait to go to school. What happened? I said, oh, on the first day of school, he was eating his lunch in the basement, so we hooked him up with 3 upperclassmen to take him under their wing, and he's doing awesome. And she goes, oh my gosh. And like she paused, and her voice got shaky. And she said, can I please come in and thank those boys? And I said, no, that would be weird. I actually didn't say no, that would be weird, because I just think it makes you laugh more. I actually said, I think it'd be better if I call them down, just because of the age, and maybe let them know how much you appreciate it, and I could call you back and let you know how it went. But if you come in, that might be, we might be in a different boundary. She's like, that'd be awesome. Could you do that? I said, sure. And she said, you'll call me back? And I said, yep. She goes, today? I said, yeah. So I called the first young man down. I said, hey, Brendan, I just wanted to let you know, Aaron's mom just called. She was her voice was wavering on the phone. She was so moved by the fact that you guys have made such a difference in Aaron's life. And he said to me, Mr. Polansky, he wrote us a letter. And he took out the letter from his wallet. And he said, I had no idea what an impact we had made on him. And I was like, that's unbelievable. And he said, yeah, it really is. And I said, I really appreciate you. I'm going to send you back to class. And just let that marinate for a little while. Went back to class, I called Evan down. I said, hey, Evan, I just want to let you in before I could finish. He goes, I saw Brendan in the hall, I already know. I was like, well, listen, jackass, can I just finish? And I didn't call him a jackass, I actually just said, can I finish? But again, when you tell stories, it's fun to make people laugh. So I said to Evan, listen, in all seriousness, like, you need to know how moved his mother was. He said, in all seriousness, you need to know that he didn't write one letter, he wrote 3 letters. They're all different. And I had no idea he was thinking about killing himself at the beginning of the school year. Little things make a huge difference. Then I called Andrew down, and I said, hey, bud, you guys are amazing. He said, Mr. Polansky. Andrew did not moon traffic. It was one of the other 2, just so you know. I said, you guys are amazing. Andrew said, Mr. Polansky, I grew up in a house where we don't express our feelings. That's not what guys do in our house. And the letter that I got was like no letter I've ever received. Now, Andrew's a kid who found $80 under a stairwell at our school. He brought it to me and he said, Mr. Polansky, I found $80 under a stairwell. I wanted to turn it in. And I said to Andrew, what would you like me to do? Make an announcement that says we found $80 under a stairwell? He goes, no, I thought you'd be a little bit more thoughtful than that and maybe think about the fact that it was folded in 2 and that you could say we found money under a stairwell and if you can tell us how it was folded, then we could give you your money back. And I go, well, what if you go tell someone how it was folded? And he goes, what if you tell someone that it was folded differently than what I tell them, and then you tell them you were just kidding, and you see if they're honest? And I'm like, this kid's amazing. He's always one step ahead. When that happened, we called the young lady down, we made an announcement, the young lady came down, she said, hey, you know, I did lose money, I lost $80, it was folded twice, almost like in quarters, and I have no idea where it was, but I was at an event in Carver, and yeah, I lost $80. It was 4 20s. I go, oh, well, we had 3 20s and 2 10s. She goes, oh, then it's not mine. I go, I'm just kidding, it was 4 20s. Andrew told me to say that. She goes, Andrew who? I said, Andrew, the person who turned in your money. She's like, seriously? So, like, Andrew was this guy who on a routine basis was a pretty amazing young man. So the 3 of them came down. And if Aaron had come to me and he was like, hey, Mr. Polansky, I was just thinking, I'm going to write a really mushy letter to the guys who drive trucks and wear work boots and moon traffic, and just let them know how much they mean to me. Do you think that's a good idea? If he had said, do you think that's a good idea? I would have said, I wouldn't do that. And I would have been wrong. So I was 30-something years old when I realized we need to teach young men that it's okay to be vulnerable. A few weeks later, Aaron said, hey, I want to come up for the wrestling team. And I said to him, hey, bud, you weigh 379 pounds. The maximum weight is 285 pounds. So you're going to have to cut weight to get down to a weight where you can actually wrestle varsity. You can wrestle JV until you make weight, but you're going to have to work out with our assistant coach who's 6'4", 240 pounds. That's going to be the only partner you have in the room, and it's not going to be easy. He said, I'm all in. So he came out for the team. He was at the bus stop horsing around with another young man named Robert at the bus stop. He tripped on a backpack and he broke his back. Came to school 3 days later with a big brace on. And I'm like, hey, bud, you can be the manager of the wrestling team. You won't be able to wrestle. He said, that's fine. I'm going to wrestle next year. And I said, you're going to have to get a doctor's note. He said, I'm already on it. Nobody made fun of him. He walked through the hallway like this. He told me, I feel like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters. I was like, don't make fun of your own weight. We don't say self-deprecating things. Those days are over. I said, if it's something you're okay with, that's different. If you're not okay with it, you don't make fun of yourself. I'm okay with my height, that's why I make fun of myself. So, the next year he came out for the wrestling team. In September, he weighed 300 pounds. By the first Monday after Thanksgiving, he was 287. He made weight for the first match. He was our varsity heavyweight. He never wrestled more than 30 seconds. He could get pinned every time he went on the mat. And this is a wrestling hotbed, this part of the state, so I know some people in the crowd might be familiar. He never wrestled more than 30 seconds. At the end of the season, midway through the season, I was at a leadership course working on my superintendent's licensure. My phone rang. My assistant coach said, "Hey, you need to come home. It's been a horrible accident." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Robert was on his way to practice. He flipped his Jeep." Robert was the one that Aaron was horsing around with at the bus stop when he broke his back. Flipped his Jeep and we lost it. Now, I grew up in a wonderful family. We had no money, but we had a lot of love. My parents are still married to this day. This was the hardest thing I'd ever been through in my life. I left where I was. I went back to the wrestling room. We hung out as a team. 3 of our best wrestlers, who were all in the top 10 in the state, couldn't even step foot in our wrestling room after that because it was too much of a trigger because they had grown up with Robert. At the end of the season, we went to the coaches' seating meeting where they make sure the number 1 guy doesn't wrestle the number 2 guy in the first round of the sectionals. And they said, "Coach, where are all your guys?" I said, "Well, we lost a few because of what had happened. It was too hard for them to be on the mat. But we still got a few guys here." They said, "Where do you want to seed your..." We got to heavyweight. They said, "Where do you want to seed him?" I said, "He's 0-18. He's never wrestled more than 30 seconds. He's unseatable. Just draw his name out of a hat. He's already won. He's lost over 100 pounds. He has a bunch of friends. This kid's already won. I'm not worried about whether he wins or loses. Just draw his name out of the hat." They drew his name out of the hat. Who does he draw? Number 1 seed. Now, when you come out of a coach's meeting, what happens? All the kids run over to you and they say, "Who am I wrestling first round," right? And I always say to them, "Don't worry about who you're wrestling." I had said to Aaron, "What's your goal?" He said, "I want to win 1 match for Robert." In my head, I'm like, "That's impossible. You're not going to win a match." I didn't say that to him. I just said, "How are you going to do it?" He said, "I shoot too early. I get underneath people. I have to wait to put my weight on them. And instead of shooting, I'm going to snap them down and get behind them when they're tired." I was like, "Oh, that's a pretty good plan." First round match, Aaron goes out, wrestles the number 1 seed, gets pinned in less than 30 seconds, comes off the mat, he goes, "Coach." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I think that was the number 1 seed." I said, "It was." He said, "How come you didn't tell me?" I said, "Because you had a plan and it was a good plan. You have no control over what your opponent does. You have total control over your approach to the sport. You worry about what you control, you leave the rest to whatever the outcome's going to be. You focus on what you're capable of." That's a rule for all of us. Life is not a game of comparison to the person sitting next to you. Life is a game of, can I be better today than I was yesterday? But I'll warn you, today becomes tomorrow very quickly, and tomorrow becomes never if you don't pay attention. So Aaron lost, he goes into the loser's bracket. I'm coaching his teammate in the consolation round over here with my daughter on my hip. She's now 23, she's a 2-time national finalist in wrestling when she was younger. My assistant coach, 6'4", is coaching in this direction, where Aaron's wrestling, and Hannah starts to pull on my pant leg, and she goes, "Dad, turn around." I said, "What's up?" She said, "Dad, you need to turn around, Aaron's winning." I said, "Hannah, that is not kind, it's not honest." That's not what I said. I was like, "Hannah, not funny." She's like, "Dad, you need to turn around, Aaron's winning." I turned around, and I said, "Turn around, Aaron's winning." I left Shane on the mat. I ran over to Aaron's match. I was like, "Let's go." And then he pinned his opponent. Then he helped his opponent up. The ref raised his hand, and he knelt down and he pointed to the sky, and he pointed at Robert's parents in the crowd. And then he ran off the mat and he picked me up because I couldn't pick him up. And he hugged me and I cried. And I was like, that was unbelievable. That was unbelievable. And my assistant coach comes running over and he goes, "If you win the next match, you're going to the state tournament." I'm like, "Dude, what the hell is wrong with you? He's 1-19. Like, Like, let them enjoy the moment. And he goes, you mean lower the bar? You mean lower the bar? Because what we would do for any other kid is say, you're going to the state tournament, but you want me to lower the bar. Don't you always tell us to have high expectations of kids, no matter who they are? That sometimes we're the person who programs their dream? Isn't that what you tell us as teachers? Are the rules different today? This is my best friend, his daughter's my godchild. I go, touche, you're right. And he goes, Aaron, if you win your next match, you're going to the state tournament. Aaron got ready for his next match. This is how he used to warm up. He starts warming up and he's like, I was like, holy shit, what happened? Aaron goes out on the mat. The Canton High School coach comes running over. He goes, hey, listen, your kid doesn't have to wrestle. My kid wrestled the Norwell kid in the last round. They had a very contentious match. They shook hands. The Norwell kid was declared the winner. Then he hauled off and punched my kid in the face. He got DQ'd. My kid can't be in the tournament because he was already declared the loser. Your kid gets a bye to the state tournament. I was like, oh my God, call Disney. Aaron went to the state tournament. He wrestled the number 1 seed for more than 3 minutes. Got pinned. Next year he came back. He was 16-15. Lost in overtime in the sectionals. Didn't make it to the state tournament. But when I gave a speech in 2013 at the principal's conference, I told Aaron's story briefly. I invited him to be there. No one knew he was there. And then I said, Aaron, would you please stand up? And there was not a dry eye in the house. And 3 people came over and they said, hey, Aaron, not me, him, would you mind telling your story to open our school year? 2013, 10 years ago. And he looked at me. I said, ask him if they'll buy you lunch. He was like, will you buy me lunch? And we were like, yeah. I go, ask him if I can go. He was like, can I coach go? And we're like, yeah. I'm like, ask him if they'll buy me lunch. And like, will you buy him? He was like, will you buy him lunch too? And we're like, yeah. And I was like, hey, road trip. And he was like, yeah. So we went to Holyoke Catholic. We went to a place in Central Mass. And we went to a place in Southeastern Mass. We did 1 for kids, 2 for adults. And then he said to me, hey, coach, I'm not really into the speaking thing, but if you want to do it, that'd be really cool. I think we got something here. That's why I'm here today. 10 years later. 2 weeks ago, I delivered this speech. Aaron was in the crowd. Just like down the Cape, and I asked him to stand up. He wasn't available today. But every time he joins me, he gets to sit in the crowd and gets a lot of money. Aaron has 5 kids. He adopted them all. He works for UPS. Last Christmas, I said, how's Christmas? You all set? He goes, well, I have a layaway at Walmart. I said, which one? He told me. So I went to Walmart, and I paid off his layaway, and they said, just pull your truck up. I said, I'm not taking the presents, I just want to pay off the layaway. They said, no, you have to if you pay it off. I said, then leave a penny on the account. Then I called Aaron and I said, hey, just so you know, you owe a penny for your Christmas gifts, but they're all set. And he said, what are you talking about? We can never forget the people who helped us to get to where we are, right? Like, that's super, super important. And so every time we have that opportunity, I think it's super important, whether it's in writing or through action, to find a way to pay that back. Because when threatening conditions are eradicated and we just simply create curiosity and opportunities for gratitude, amazing things happen. Who knows what's under this sheet? Yell it out. What's under the sheet? Take a risk. Don't fear failure. We're in a safe place. What is that? A chair. Good guess. It's rounded on the top. I did a poor job photoshopping. It's rounded on the top. What could it be? Guesses? A person. Who said a person? Raise your hand. Who said a person? Oh, great. Do you want a pair of socks? Yes. your socks. Lori, can you deliver these for me? I'm gonna keep going while you get your socks. There's no catch here. It's a person. It's a person under a sheet. How many people have known and loved a grandparent? Put your hands up. I need your help here. Known and loved a grandparent. Not everyone knows and loves a grandparent, so that's why I say it. We never make assumptions. Keep your hand up. How many people, when they see that, no T-Rex hands, full extension, right? How many people, when they see that grandparent, think to themselves, the first thing you think in your head is, wow, they are so hot. Every hand went down. When I said it to middle school kids, they go crazy. Why did I say that? That's a person under a sheet. I googled person under a sheet and that's what I got. I'll tell you why I said that. You said you know and love a grandparent. And I told you I like to wear socks, sandals, and shorts. I promise you this won't go too far. I freaking hate ties. This is just an act. I hate ties. I only wear them out of respect. Because maybe it lays the groundwork, but I'm not a tie guy. We know and love a grandparent, but we don't judge them by the way they look. That's not the first thing that comes to our mind. You know when kids walk through a hallway, they judge each other by the way they look? By the brand that they're wearing. My kids say to me, Dad, can we go to Under Armour and get a shirt that says Under Armour? Or could we go to Aeropostale and get a shirt? And I'm like, no. We go thrifting and you can get a shirt that says Aeropostale because it's more washable. No. I'm not paying $25 for a t-shirt. We dropped my daughter off in Syracuse just a few days ago. There was this awesome thrift store called 315 in Syracuse. I got a Syracuse sweatshirt for $7. I got a t-shirt for $2.99. And there's only a little stain on it. That I probably would put on it eating nachos anyway, so it doesn't even matter. Why is the brand so important? Can't we just look at one another and appreciate people for who they are on the inside and what they deliver? I go back to the speech behind the curtain. So treat people like the conductor of the butterfly circus and not the opening sideshow. That is the most important thing that I will share with you today. Treat people like the conductor of the butterfly circus and not the opening sideshow. That is the most important thing that I will share with you today. Are there any questions? Sean Rock, you are the best. Will you come up here for 1 minute? I want to give you a pair of socks. Any question?
What the heck is a butterfly circus?
So turn around, look at the crowd. How many people were thinking that? Right? Now I said, thank you, Sean. Now I said, this is the most important thing that I'm going to tell you today. You do this with kids in your classroom, and only Sean Rock, if he's in your class, is going to say, what the heck's the butterfly circus? Unless we create, and I'm trying my freaking hardest, guys, and no one's asking any questions. I'm even giving out socks. I can't imagine what your job is like when you're trying to get kids to ask questions. That's hard. Jolly Ranchers. But that's hard work to get kids to ask questions. Even if you say, it's the most important thing I'm going to share with you today, it's hard. Because you know they don't know. And that was a setup. My hope is that people don't know, so that goes well. All the hands went up. Good number of them. The Butterfly Circus. It's a short film. It's 20 minutes long. How long? 20 minutes. We show it to every single student who steps foot into our district in the 9th grade. They're not allowed to walk the hallways of the 9th grade until they watch the Butterfly Circus. Every parent at high school orientation is required to watch, a parent or guardian is required to watch the Butterfly Circus. Every new hire in my district is given the Butterfly Circus to watch. When I was an assistant principal, I would show the film when there were two kids in an argument, and at 3 minutes and 57 seconds, I'd hit pause, and I'd say to them which character character are you? And sometimes the biggest, toughest kid in the school would get a look on his face like, man, I'm a jerk. Then at 12 minutes, I'd pause it again and I'd say, what are your dreams? But at the 4-minute mark, I would always say to them, do you want to go back to class or you want to watch the rest of the video? They'd say, we want to watch the rest of the video. And I'd say, haven't you seen it before? No, we weren't there on that day. No kidding. Because if you had been, you wouldn't have been here. 6 out of 10 times, that's what they say. If you watch it and you don't at least emote or cry, you're not human. That's not true. You're still human. But it's moving, and you get a different lesson from it every time you see it. So my question is, what are you going to do when you go home? There's a link to the butterfly circus in the survey at the end of this that you can copy. Okay? I put the link in so you can go right to it. It's the most amazing short film I've ever seen. We have limited control over the outside, we have total control over what's on the inside. When I grow my hair up, it looks like a bad lawn. Right? So I shave it. But this could change tomorrow. I haven't had a drink in 3 years, not because I struggle with alcohol, but because I started to realize, like, oh my God, I'm getting a little chunky on the side. Those calories don't help me, so why am I gonna ingest them? I feel great. I'm still a little chunky, because last night I had red velvet beignets at 110 Grill with really good sauces for dessert. I couldn't resist. The 110 Grill in Chelmsford is off the charts if you haven't been. These are some ideas for transforming culture. We went over a lot of them. Learn a new name. Smile. Simply ask the question. I'm sorry, and I love you are two powerful phrases that are underused. Learn something new about someone every day. Find out what they love. I found out that Andy Long likes the Bears. Oh well. Write handwritten notes of appreciation. Link assignments to passions. Give kids choices. Some kids are auditory learners, other kids are visual learners. Why not give them a choice about how they learn? Does a kid really need 100 math problems if they're all the same? Right? That's like old school. Model risk-taking, curiosity, and creativity. When I walk into a classroom, it's about rapport, not reports. I'll co-teach with a teacher, right? If I evaluate a teacher and it might not go really well for them, sometimes I say, this was when I was a principal, want to do that one over? I had a teacher say, no, I want you to write it up and tell me how I responded to everything that went wrong. She became our assistant principal. But nobody shows up at work and says, man, I can't wait to have a bad day. Right? Like that just doesn't happen. Make time to simply connect, mix work and play. We don't need to be on 100% of the time. We actually need to balance that so we can be alert, healthy, vibrant. Are your rules in place to prevent the 1% or guide the 99%? Folks, this goes for teachers. This goes more importantly for administrators. How about the teacher who keeps the kid in from recess, all the kids in from recess because one kid misbehaved? Ever hear that story from your kids when they go home in elementary? That for me that's a tough one. That's like a principal emailing the whole staff when one person's late. You know what happens? Every staff member who's on time was like, oh my God, can you show me the video? I just want to make sure I was on time today. And the person who was late was like, what do you know? 33 elements of evaluation that help us to know you're a really good teacher. When you give the teacher the one element that they struggle with, and you focus on the 32, what does that teacher pay attention to? The one element. If a teacher does a killer job, tell me they did a killer job. Since when did elements really tell us how good a teacher is? You know, in my 7 years as a superintendent, in my years that came before that as a principal and assistant principal, I'm going to admit something. The elements of the evaluation didn't tell me whether someone was a great teacher. I knew because I spent so much time in classrooms that I knew people were great teachers, or if they were struggling, it was my job to coach them. There's no substitute for one-to-one time. Learn facial expressions, rapport before reports. This is Brian McCann. He's the principal. He was the principal at Case High School. Every Thursday, he'd hold a sign up outside the buses and he'd take pictures with the kids. This is Justin Conner. He's a math teacher at Assabet Valley. He has this sign of safety outside his door. If you're an underrepresented group, you look for signs of safety. Make sure your underrepresented groups know they're welcome. That's super important. We have an industry signing day at our school. Why? Because it's important to recognize the kids that are going into industry, college, or the military, right? So these are all the companies that participated. This is one of the students who was highlighted. This is what signing day looks like. We're a very small high school, 9 through 12. 570 students, and these administrators are at the top of every column, and this is broken out by location in the building. This says, how are things? Do you need anything? What's the best part of your day? The teachers whose names are in bold are in their first or second year. Let's pay extra attention to make sure they have what they need to be successful. What can we do to create opportunities for them to connect with other staff and see others in action? My job is to see everyone on this piece of paper every 2 weeks. I put a date next to their name when I check in with them. The job of everybody else on the team is to at least see everyone in their column. Teachers are so used to us walking into their classroom, they're not uncomfortable. And I feel confident saying that. I don't feel like I'm pie in the sky, like head in the clouds, where I say they're not uncomfortable, then you go, no, they really are. They told us they are, but you just don't know. I really do feel like they're comfortable when we're walking in, because they're used to it. This is for teachers, relationship building calendar. Learn the 411 about your kids. Ask them 4 things about themselves, 1 friend they have, and 1 thing that they think you and they have in common. If you get the 411 on every kid within the first few weeks of school, just by having a 3-minute sit down with every single kid while the other kids are doing some kind of problem of the day, within the first month of school, you will have an amazing rapport with kids. And if they don't have 1 friend they can share with you, then you know that you have an intervention and you need to go see Dave. Hey, I did the 411 with this class, so-and-so said they don't have any friends. Hey Dave, can you hook them up with someone? Right? And all it is 4 things about the student, 1 friend they have, 1 thing you have in common. Again, at the end of this, if you want any of these tools, I have a survey. When you complete the survey, ask me for the tool, give me your email, I'll send you back the survey. I'll send you back any tool you want. This is the 411 with staff. Last year on the first day of school, this scrolled while teachers were eating breakfast. 4 things about me. My wife and 6 children inspire me. Fishing, kayaking, and the outdoors are stress relievers. We have a pug and a lab hound mix that I'd love to bury in the backyard. I named that plant in the backyard. In the near future, I would love to travel with my family. 1 thing I did this summer, we did a lot of fishing. My daughter Ava and I parasailed in Key West. 1 goal, gather stakeholder input to help direct MSBA eligibility. That was me. This is a para. We did it for everybody in the district. What did I do afterwards? I sent it out to everybody in the district. 3 days at my kitchen table over the summer, I did these templates because I wanted it to be a surprise. You don't have to spend 3 days because it doesn't need to be a surprise. Right? You just have someone create their own template, they send it to you, you send it out to the district, all of a sudden you go, oh my God, I didn't know you liked The Big Bang Theory. Oh my gosh, I didn't know you liked Cristiano Ronaldo. I didn't know you had a Kyle Long jersey and that you liked the Bears. But if I didn't say that, we don't have that connection. What happened? I started to walk into classrooms, this was on the wall for kids. It spread like wildfire. Kids will learn about each other just by seeing stuff on the wall. And you preface it with, only show what you're comfortable with. I had a school committee member send me a picture of him with a corona in his hand. Look, John, can you send me a different picture? This is going on to the families too. And he laughed. He goes, I knew, I just want to make sure you look at the slides. Our principal takes the kids camping in the White Mountains. He picks the most challenging kids. He goes for 3 days, 2 nights. One of the kids here was on the spectrum. He went his freshman year. By the time he graduated, he had climbed all the 4,000 footers. This is Monomoy High School. The teachers put something nice about every single student on the wall. 2 weeks later, the students unsolicited put something about every teacher, every staff member on the wall. This is Beth Wolf. She was the National Principal of the Year. I had this before she was, just so you know. I didn't get it because, but she shared this, and she puts her bio with a bunch of stuff about her outside her door, so that when people come in, they can see things about her and connect. So our admin team started to put this outside our door. If you want the kids to use their voice, Anchor is a free podcast app. Right? So you could do podcasts in class about something relevant to your subject area, and the kids can do a free podcast on Anchor. Meditation Mondays. During COVID, every morning at 8 a.m. I would live stream a 10-minute meditation on Facebook, our Facebook page. 7 follows on the live stream. 12 follows. 22 follows. 33 follows. 100 follows. 86 follows. And then we ended up around 70 to 80 every morning. People would meditate. What did we do? We bought calm for the entire staff with ESSER money. After the first year, we assessed how many people use it. We only renewed those who use it. It's a great app. Every morning, 10 minutes, I do my meditation. The other thing I use is the 5-minute journal. It's a quick journal. You can write in it. It's an awesome tool if you want to use something, but you're not really a writer. It prompts you. It takes 3 minutes in the morning, 3 minutes at night. I'm 2.5 years in. Haven't missed a day. You've been mugged. It's an exercise we do at staff meeting. We bring in 2 mugs at the high school. One mug has all the teachers' names. One mug has all the administrators' names. The teachers reach in, they pull the administrator's name out. The administrators reach in, they pull a teacher's name out. That's the class you have to teach as an administrator. You have to write a lesson plan. You have to debrief with the teacher before. And you have to write a reflection afterwards about what you would change in your lesson as the practitioner. If the teacher wants to, they get to evaluate you. Why? Because we shouldn't forget what it was like to be a teacher. Whose name did they draw the first time? Mine. What class? Cosmetology. No joke. I was like, check the box. I know I'm a little over, we're almost done. Kevin McCaskill, Boston Public Schools, one of my best friends in the world. 6'5", 6, African American. You see me. His school is predominantly students of color. Our school is 93% white. We did an exchange so our kids could see kids that don't look like them. It was unbelievable. We debriefed with the kids afterwards. We actually prepared them before. We said, what do you expect to experience? It was funny what they said. They went, it was totally different from what they expected. They hit it off, received national attention. Kids need to see beyond their walls. We went over words changing worlds. I'll finish with a little bit of humor. On snow days, some people call me the singing superintendent. So I'll share a little something with you. This is how we cancel school in our district.
I heard there was a winter storm in southern Mass, there's snow and storm, but you don't really want to risk it, do you? Well, it goes like this: we cancel trips to New York City for Cosmo Kids. I guess that we should probably cancel school, yeah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
We did that in 2017, my first year. My wife says to me, that was after a basketball practice, that was the basketball team. I got home an hour later, my wife said, you have 44,000 views. My kids were like, Dad, you're freaking famous! My aunt calls me from Florida, she's like, what are you doing on Fox News in Florida? Right? ABC News. CBS Boston. Folks, we just have to be ourselves. You change lives. You're the most important people in the lives of human beings because you set the trajectory. People always say, like, love the kids, but whatever you do, don't touch the kids. Oh my God, don't have a kid in the supply closet, that would be weird. But we have to love kids. I spoke at a middle school. This little guy went over, we do an exercise where the kids show gratitude for the teachers. This little guy went over and proclaimed his appreciation for this teacher. Another teacher caught it on camera. It was the most moving display I've ever seen. Folks, lead with love. Love always wins. When someone gives you a hard time, take the high road. Don't fight back and be negative. Just take the high road. They're already in a nasty place. The only way to get someone out of nasty is to go high, not low. Right? When you go nasty, if they go nasty, it all goes downhill. There's a visual. This is the high road. This is the low road. Low road. High road. Right? Maybe if you're lucky, you catch the tip of the low road, and we go home. Hang a picture of one of your heroes with the words "ask me under it" and tell a meaningful story to your students about whoever your hero is. Because one day, they're going to hang your picture up, tell your story, because you were kind, you were honest, and they improved you, and you improved their situation. Folks, you're unbelievable today. I have to tell you that when I do these things for my friends, there's so much pressure. And teachers are the biggest critics. It's so hard, man. When you go into the industry, it's a lot easier. But when you work with teachers, you're like, man, they're going to be thinking about all these little tweaks, right? Today was a great day. It was an absolute honor and privilege to be with you. Love who you are. Love what you do. And love other people do the same thing.
I was once told that to become my enemy, you have to walk away from your it's somewhere locked away in the depths of my soul. Existing a spark, flicker of light that will change it. All I had to do, find it.
Oh, I appreciate it. We can do stuff with the kids too if you want.
Those footsteps, they define your destiny. A symphony that becomes your soundtrack, wind for your sails. They are the song that will guide your journey. In your pockets, they can be empty if your heart is full. The book can be unwritten if you hold the pen. The path can be unclear if you just trust yourself. This is the lens that illuminates your world. And when you fall, promise to get back up. When you feel misplaced, remember that getting lost is how you find yourself. When you're scared, know that it's darkest before the dawn. These are the stairs that will take you higher. Tired is not defeated. Wandering is not lost. Vulnerability is not weakness. Mistakes are not defining. Hardship is not a deterrent. These are pages in the story you're writing. And it's the story of a lifetime. So pull back the curtains. Dance in the moonlight. Sing at the top of your lungs so that every soul from here to infinity